Welcome back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of the Culture Shock here on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I'm your host, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on Twitter at FFTJBlakeDNA. And for the Culture Shock, we're joined by the Cultured One. This is his segment, his show. It is the only one, true Cultured One, Bob Helfert. You can follow him over on Twitter at Big E Fat Bob. Bob, a lot to talk about today. Some good stuff. This is mainly more player driven, but we are going to talk some teams too and some of the things we've seen from a dynasty perspective. You ready to hop in and talk some week 12 here? Because we're getting close to the playoffs.
Yes, I am. I want to start though with just being thankful with Thanksgiving coming up, right? I'm especially thankful for my wife and my children, for you, asking me to do this. I would have never thought after maybe like what are we, a year and 4 or 5 months, I guess, past the expo when we met, and it was a great time then. It's a good time now, and it's only getting better. I think we're growing. I got to thank God, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that type of thing. I wouldn't be anywhere without him. And that's definitely needed to be said, but like, especially, him. And then of course the whole DNA Strand crew, the whole idea of actually getting to do basically my own show. I get to get on here and just, wax poetic and gripe and complain, and, people enjoy it, and I'm glad that they do. And hopefully my son doesn't call again in the middle of it and try and get, me to answer the phone so he can get like live press.
Oh, we gotta love it. Logan's a good egg. And I love how you opened the show, Bob. Absolutely thankful for a lot of the same family. Like you said, the Lord and Savior. You, everyone in the DNA network. I mean, you guys do such great work. I mean, I'm just so lucky to have the team that I have. And paths cross ways for a reason. When we met at the expo, that was great. And we have such an awesome team. And I can't wait for this upcoming offseason. We got a lot of great times ahead of us. And we have Jenner chiming in here in the chat saying, hey guys, hopefully both of you are having a great weekend. We hope you are too, Jenner. Hopefully everything's going good for you. I hope you won some of your games, and I appreciate you having tuning in with us here for the Culture Shock. Hope all is well with you. But here we go, Bob. We're going to open it up. Like I said, you did an amazing job opening that show. I couldn't follow suit with that. That was the perfect opening. But here we go. Topic number 1 for the Culture Shock for week 12. What are we talking about here today?
You're putting me on the spot. I forgot what I typed. Hold on a minute. I had this whole speech plan, and I did that, and I forgot what we were talking about, and I knew what we typed. Oh, Shedeur Sanders, first start. So, like, I don't know, man. You guys, there's so many people that love Shedeur. Like, he did what he did. It's the first win for. I love how they're like they over dramatize this. The first win for a rookie quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sure that those other rookie quarterbacks for the Cleveland Browns weren't playing against maybe the worst Vegas team in the history of Vegas teams. And that's bad. That says a lot. So yeah, I'm not overly impressed. It's great for the kid. Hopefully it's something that works out for Cleveland, because in all honesty, if you're a Cleveland fan and you went and bought a jersey, it'd be great to have your guy, right? And especially with a 5th round pick, you paid a little extra or whatever, but the compensation the guy's getting salary wise is going to be super cheap. So you could still afford to keep Myles Garrett around. You could still afford to build up the offense, and maybe you get to keep some of those offensive linemen. My only problem is they're already in cap. They're already in a bad negative cap situation coming into 2026. They're going to have Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel be the guy to even be able to make it work. And I don't know if any of their other weapons, I think, Njoku's a free agent, I think, after this year, right? So it's like they're going to be relying on Q. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Q. And we talked about this before when I said, maybe we should consider selling Q. It's the offensive line is what worries me the most. And Shedeur Sanders could have went out and set the world on fire today and the next week and the rest of this year. He could end up winning Rookie of the Year like this late in the year. Highly doubt it. But let's just say that he just sets the world on fire. They're still not going to have offensive line problems. You know what I mean? It's like, I hopefully it works out for Shedeur. As I mean, I don't ever want to see any guys fail. I really didn't care for him in the process, but people can grow. Like, we've seen a absolutely terrible Josh Allen turn into very good QB. So let's just assume that Shadur can be a serviceable QB. He's got to be better, or at least on par with Dylan Gabriel. So it's like, and at least he's right-handed. So there's that.
Right. I mean, that's always a bonus in the Bob category if you are a right-handed quarterback. But yeah, I mean, look, like you said, Bob, I mean, you got to look at the competition they were playing. I think he mustered up 11 points or something like that. Now, totally, this isn't all on Shador because the offensive line, as you mentioned, Bob, nothing special there. They don't look great up front, and they do not have a serious big-time weapon, right? Like, we like Harold Fannin as far as an up-and-coming dynasty project. The running game is good, but it can only get you so far. Like you said, when the blocking's bad, but they really need a number one wide receiver too. So, Bob, you're saying right now, though, if you have Shadur Sanders, you're feeling like he's going to get the kick at the can again in 2026. Either him or Dylan Gabriel. You don't think the Browns maybe draft anybody? You think they go a different route?
I don't think that they can afford to, but I didn't think that they should have did what they did this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, TJ,
Right.
we were there at the draft, like on draft on the podcast. I'm like, what in the world are the Browns doing? Like, I was like, well, actually, they were the one that did the exact right thing, traded back. Well, but then they took the defensive tackle. Can't think of his name off the top
Mason
of my head.
Graham.
Graham, that's it. So it's like they take Mason Graham, and I'm like, man, did their defensive line really need as much help as like their offensive line or a weapon or whatever? It's like, but whatever. It's like, you did the right thing ish, but then you doubled up on RB and you doubled up on quarterback. And it's like, sure, Samson has a long run today. Q got a little banged up. He's been a little banged up here and there, which is not good for our hopes, of Q. But like, legitimately, like, that's the last piece of the puzzle. This is what I keep griping about with Ashton Genty and things like that. You don't go get the RB until you have the nest built. You don't go get the QB till you got the nest built. And what they did was they got a nest, right, with all these offensive linemen, but it's built on matchsticks that as soon as we get a spark, like when the offseason comes, it's going to burn up. It's like, I don't understand that they almost have to. It'll either be Gabriel, which would be terrible. It could be Shadur, which may work out. And that's just my left-handed, right-handed thing. And I think Dylan Gabriel is an absolute game manager at best. Or it's going to be Deshaun Watson, because he's on the books. I don't know how they get away from that. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's cooked into the contracts. Everybody else is a complete. I don't think that there's really an option. I think it's got to be one of those three guys. Does that mean I'm going to go buy him in fantasy? Nope, because I don't trust the Cleveland Browns to do anything. And yes, he had 11 points today. I'll shop in a different market for my QB1, QB2, QB3, QB4. You know what I mean? If I scraped him off of a heap somewhere in any of my fantasy leagues, which I didn't, I'm not going to throw him away. I'll, at least try and get a third or a late second or something in any draft, even if it's the tortured 26 class. Like, at least I can get out of it, maybe buy a running back, next week for, that I could use.
Yeah, and use that pick as some kind of valuable commodity instead of just picking there. You're going to use it as leverage. I can understand that. So you're saying like a 26 second, 27 second. If anyone wants to offer you that for Shador Sanders, you're smashing that, Bob.
Oh yeah. That guy's not staying on my team. I don't trust the Browns. And it's like, Teixeira is in the chat. QB, go buy, or Q's RB1, go buy. Like, I get the sentiment of the player. The situation is past trash. It's just awful. Unless it's man, I'm telling you right now, if you play IDP, you are absolutely thrilled with Myles Garrett right now. This is like his second or third week over 50 something points, and that's a lot. So it's nuts.
That's about the only valuable fantasy commodity at this point, Bob, saying an IDP. But yeah, I mean, look, and Teixeira said Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston. Like, the Browns had Jameis Winston before. Like, I mean, if you get one of them guys cheap, at least maybe you can win a couple more games, right? Just give it an old college try, see what happens. But I mean, I'm like you though, Bob. I think there's a great chance just because they invested that draft capital in Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. Someone's going to have to get the opportunity because I think that they're going to play their cards close to their chest, and I don't think that they're going to get a quarterback this year. I just don't think that. So I do think that they're going to go more offensive line, defense, maybe a weapon of some sorts, right? If someone's up that high where they're picking, and they do have multiple firsts, right? They did make that trade with Jacksonville, so they could fill a couple holes. So
It's still not a good QB class. You know what I
no,
mean? Like
nope.
even if they were to draft the best QB and they lose 4 offensive linemen, it does it's
Yep.
what are we hoping for? Like
They got to use those picks and fill a lot of other holes because they got so many, whether it be weapons or the guys up front. And I agree with you on that. But let's go over to the next topic here, Bob. Got your sentiment on Shador Sanders' first start. I agree with much of what you said. I think I would take a second there. But what's second on the topic list here for the culture shock?
so we got Michael Wilson and like his supposed coming out of nowhere. Number one, I think Wilson was what was he like a second or third round pick or whatever for Arizona? Like
Third. Yep,
third,
third.
so he's a third round pick. So like he's got talent, So this is his, I believe this is, I mean, he's over 100 yards the last 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure. But what I'm trying to find out here, if I can get the absolute statistics that I'm looking for, I know he's over 100 yards this week. I know that, 10 catches, 118 yards. Where was last week's game? He was wide receiver 3 with 108. That's right. He had 185 yards. Now it's everything's starting to click. But like Jacoby Brissett makes this engine run. It doesn't have to be Jacoby Brissett, but it's got to be a Jacoby Brissett type quarterback. This Kyler Murray experiment is an absolute failure. I don't know if it's many people were excited about the fact that he liked to run and he could distribute the ball on the run and things like that. Pretty decent deep accuracy. And ironically, it's like when they finally started to get weapons, that's when Kyler Murray kind of started to get worse. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have Trey McBride and feed the guy one touchdown? You know what I mean? Like in a whole season, like
And that's a good point, Bob, because, a lot of people were knocking Trey McBride about the fact that he couldn't score touchdowns. Was it really Trey McBride or was it Kyler Murray? Right.
Yeah.
And people just do not see through them glasses. So I like what you said there, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, like Kyler Murray's like a perennial QB 12 or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, he's doing it, blah blah. And I'm like, no, well, like stop and look at it just a little bit better than that. It's all on the fact that he scrambles out of plays. I don't think that he's real interested in sticking with the playbook. I don't think that he's real interested in, listening to his coaches or having a heart for the game. He just doesn't look like a leader when you watch him on the field. He doesn't look like he's super interested in being there. Even at the beginning of his career, it was this, well, if you don't do me right, then I'll just go back and play baseball. Like, stop. And then it's absolutely hammered, and I've done it myself, that he's a video game junkie. So it's like, if you want to play esports, just quit and play esports. He might not get the option of quote unquote quitting. He might just get jettisoned. You know what I mean? But we also know that the league is absolutely starving for QBs. He's going to get an opportunity somewhere if it's not in Arizona again. And I don't know if Gannon, I don't know if Gannon just doesn't pull him and be like, look, I want you to understand this guy that's 32 years old is doing what I want you to do, but you're way more talented than him, and he's making you look like a chump. And
Yeah.
I don't, but Kyler's probably got a woe is me mentality. He'll probably claim that Gannon like harassed him and treated him like a little child. And well, when your contract's got, hey, you need to study in your contract, you are a child. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry, but like,
There's no accountability, and you're supposed to be a leader of the team, right? I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, Bob. And we've seen this, like I said, we've seen this weeks and weeks ago. But, it is exciting. Like you said, why Michael Wilson's coming on, it's Jacoby Brissett. But let me ask you, Bob, it's clear this Kyler Murray thing's over. At the end of this year, no matter what, is it going to be Jacoby Brissett? Is it going to be someone else? Arizona realizes they got to make this switch. So, like, Michael Wilson is a dynasty asset. Like, how in are you at this point? Because, like you said, he has some talent. And boy, oh boy, man. I mean, wide receiver 1 overall that first game he played there last week, wide receiver 10 this week. And look, I mean, Jacksonville's no slouch. And I think he got like 15 targets today. Like, he was getting targeted a bunch. So, like, what's your thoughts on Michael Wilson as a dynasty asset? Do you feel comfortable enough? Like, let's say, I know you easily trade a 26 second. I know I don't got to ask that, but like, would you consider a 27 second at this point, just based off what you've seen?
I don't know if I can in this situation, only because I'm going to hope that Marvin Harrison comes back and gets that role.
Right.
Now, I don't know when Michael Wilson's contract's up. And right now, George Pickens looks like the belle of the ball as far as the wide receiver free agents go. If Michael Wilson's there, like if he's the number 2 guy, he could get a lot of money to be somebody's. And we know that the wide receiver market I mean, like, there's got to be a place for him to go and do what he's doing now. Like, he may have a year left, I think, because I want to say he's the year maybe before
Yeah.
Harrison. So yeah, so if
Yeah.
he's got another year left,
He'll be in Arizona next year and then he'll be free. Yeah. I think that's how it goes, Bob.
but look at it like this, TJ. I mean, like, Jacoby Brissett's thrown the ball 49 times this game. You know, he threw the ball 47 times. No, hold on. That was 47 completions. 57 attempts the week before. 44 the week before. 31, 36, 44. He's averaging a slew of attempts. So if it's here, like, we love it when the attempts, like, completion, it's consolidated, right? You don't have to worry about the fewer 4. You don't have to worry about some tight end 3 or whatever coming in and stealing the show. You don't have to worry about some third, fourth, fifth string wide receiver. If they come back, whether it's Brissett or somebody like Brissett, and it's Harrison, McBride, Wilson, 1, 2, 3, and they keep throwing the ball 35 to 40 times, 45 times a game. Yeah, like, Michael Wilson could easily be. We used to have it where 2 wide receivers showed up in the top 12 often. And it's like that the passing just either seems to be down, or nobody has, like, of course, I guess if CeeDee Lamb would, kind of quit dropping the ball, it might end up being Pickens and Lamb again. You know what I mean? But, like, for whatever reason, Pickens is like stealing the show or whatever, or at least he's just more dependable catching the ball, which is a surprise, especially, but, could it be? It's
So
not.
you're, so
Go ahead.
you're saying right now, like, you're a little bit skittish as a buyer on Michael Wilson, but like, say you're a bad team. Would you take a 2027 second at this point and just see what happens? Do you think that would be something you do? Would you rather hold on to him? Do you think he's more of a hold, or would you think he's more of a hot sell based off of just how well he's performing? Because you are right in a way, Bob. Like, they cannot throw the ball like this forever. Like, the attempts cannot be gigantic like this forever. And we do know, like, when James Conner's healthy, they were a team that was kind of like to pound the football, right? So, like, maybe they get back to more normalcy, more balance, and like you said, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. So, would you capitalize at this point as a seller and sell for a second in 2027, or do you think you're just going to hold?
If my wide receiver room is pretty strong, yes, I would sell. If my wide receiver room is, some dart throws, and, or I got maybe 2 guys that I really depend on, then I would probably just hold, if that answers the question adequately, because, like, it could be either way, right? Like, I'm not opposed to holding the guy, because if he keeps putting up numbers like this, then you might have one of those 3-year breakout superstars coming onto your hands. But if everything regresses because they can't get rid of Kyler Murray, or they bring in somebody that's stupid, or they just want to run the ball all the time, because it's a wild card, right? Like, there's nothing guaranteed here. So it's like, for sure, I'd love to say Michael Wilson could absolutely be a stud, and he may very well be, but he could also just fall right back to where he was at before, these 3 or 4 weeks with Jacoby Brissett.
Context is king, Bob, and that's why I love how you broke it down. You played the game a long time. So, yeah, so you're saying, look, if I have a wide receiver room that's weak, maybe I'll gamble and hold them. But if I'm really starting to build a nice receiver core, I'm missing other pieces, then I'll sell them off. I do like what you had to say there because, look, I like Michael Wilson. I remember the draft process. I liked him. I said he's kind of underrated. But the thing is, man, he will be the third wheel in this offense. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr., look, I mean, we talk about third year breakouts. If Arizona makes this switch, and you look at when he played with Jacoby Brissett, I mean, we've seen some touchdowns, like things were starting to happen. So, like, to me, like this could be the time to maybe sneak in and buy Marvin Harrison a little bit cheap and gamble, because I just think wholeheartedly this is it for Kyler Murray. Like, whether he's there or not, I just think that even if he were to come back, I think his leash will be so short. Like if they could not trade him, I think his leash would be so short, and that would benefit a Marvin Harrison. So I think you can agree to that, Bob, before we move on to the next segment. Maybe you want to try to, seeing what Michael Wilson's doing, Greg Dortch, people like that with Jacoby Brissett, you want to kind of sublimely sneak in and grab Marvin Harrison at this point because his value's down right now with this appendix thing, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's down still a little bit just from the stink of, Kyler Murray rubbing off on Marvin Harrison. My only thing is like, is the wide receiver, is the QB play going to unlock Marvin Harrison? Because I don't think there's any reason that we should have seen as bad of a Marvin Harrison as we've seen already. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
Slim is a huge Harrison guy. And when I seen him in college, I was like, okay, this dude's going to be a Hall of Famer. And it's like, whatever. And if it's the stank of Kyler Murray that's keeping him from being, what he should be, then wheels are up when, he comes back and Jacoby Brissett's still there. And if we see it like 2 games at that point, maybe not even 2 games, if you see it like one quarter, maybe go send out trade offers. Cause I reference Peacock and Williamson all the time because I listen to them. But Williamson has said during the draft time, like he goes, when I look at drafts, he's like, basically, I look for guys that I might see being in the Hall of Fame. And Marvin Harrison was the guy that he was like, he should be in the Hall of Fame. And, and whatever reason, and again, maybe it's just Kyler Murray's stank video game hand can't, get him the ball.
Yeah, and look, and I think the Arizona Cardinals would be wise to try to build Marv up, right? Be like, okay, Marv, we really need you to grow and grow up. Like, this is your team now. Like try to get him more into that responsibility, leadership type role. Try to push him in a positive direction. Look, if they take 2 negatives out, get rid of Kyler Murray, maybe this could be a good thing. So, Michael Wilson, I love how Bob laid that out, guys. If you have him out there and your wide receiver room is really strong, starting to get better as a rebuilder, you want to take a 27-second, I have no problem with that. And if you are a bad team and you want to hold him, just see what happens, I have no problem with that either, because I think he can develop. If Arizona can get the right quarterback, I think at worst, he could maybe be a wide receiver 3 type player. And sometimes that's a decent flex you could have on your hands, right? So just something to consider. And I'm glad we got to talk about him because what a performance these last couple of weeks. And it's nice to see the Arizona Cardinals fantasy assets come to life a little bit. So, Bob, we have the next thing on the list. What is it tonight for topic 3?
One last thing. When you got an adult in the room at quarterback, look what happens. Okay. So let's go. Let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and that insanity. So I the only thing I have against Gibbs at this point is it's not week in, week out consistent. Boy, are there freaking blow-ups, though. Who cares? This is a guy, and it's like, we were excited about Jonathan Taylor, and he's had like more 3-touchdown games, and Jonathan Taylor's looking really good. Of course, he got stymied today. The schedule for Taylor is going to get harder. Gibbs is just a different beast, right? Even last week when he had a down game, and that's, running back 13 by the list I'm looking at here. He had 5 catches for 107 yards. Like, stop the presses. Like, he's just an absolute weapon. Bijan Robinson wakes up in the middle of the night and go, man, I wish I was Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's where we're at, I think. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is clearly the number one RB. If you don't believe me, sell him to me. I will trade, I will trade just about any RB I got for Jahmyr Gibbs at this point. And I think that it's, Dan Campbell's really trying to unlock this offense by calling the plays himself again. I think that helps. I think it was always his offense. I think Teixeira was the one that really hinted me onto it even more, like kind of confirmed what I thought. But I always think it was Dan Campbell's offense. We got to remember Dan Campbell's a tight end, he was a tight end in the pros, and then he was a tight end coach, and then he was under Sean Payton. And so this guy, he's an offensive guy, even though he has crazy, his crazy interview presser or whatever. Let's bite these knees, blah, blah, blah. I think it just means I'm a baller, dude. Like, I expect everybody to go out and give 165%. And if you don't, then you better bite somebody's kneecap off on the way down, so it's weird. But like what we talked about it, but what it was a 69-yard run and a 49-yard run today. Incredibly explosive, 219 yards on the ground on 15 carries. Like if you have a near 15-yard per carry average for a game,
just video game stuff. Game.
Like hand your shoes over and be like, go ahead and put these in the hall. I know it happens. If you've never been to Canton in the hall, like I got to go last year, it was really neat. I think some of it's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like recency bias, but the history is still there too. But like this is what's happened. They got like a whole like recency section or whatever. And I can't imagine that these shoes should go in there. Hopefully this is one of those cleats for the cause things. I don't know if that's this week or if it's next week, but if it was this week, it'd be really cool to be, give them your cleats for a cause. And they're like, I ran for 200 something yards in this, I think I heard on the broadcast, it was like the second or third highest output total yardage wise, maybe for a Detroit Lion ever or whatever. And it's like, oh, Calvin Johnson had 280 something yards or whatever receiving one time. I'm like, yeah, you're starting to get lined up with guys like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. The world's the limit. And he's a guy that I don't build on RBs. We know this, but he's one of those guys that I'd be more than happy to trade, say, like a Devonta Smith and 227 first for. You know what I'm saying? That type of package. Or even, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on the, the situation and the team. But he's otherworldly studly.
Well, let me just say this. That is high praise coming from Bob, because we know how he feels about 2027 picks, but we know how you feel about running backs too, Bob, because that's just it. I was asking, like, when we were talking about this, does he any different in your eyes? Obviously he is, right? Because you break one of your cardinal rules, for him. Now, I'm not saying you go against totally your philosophy, but look, I mean, the facts are the facts. This guy can play. There's no doubt about it. And what's crazy is, he is starting to take that role. Like if you have David Montgomery, it is heart sickening, because I am a David Montgomery fan. I like the guy. I like his approach. He's a pro's pro, but man, oh man, Jahmyr Gibbs is just that guy. And it's hard to take him off the field when he does stuff like he does today. I have never seen, maybe a couple guys in my time, this too, Bob. Like it's very rare. Do you see a guy that's as fast as he is, the size that he is, that can pound it up in there between the tackles? And it just looks like he's a natural doing it. And running back one, no doubt. I mean, this is it. And, he finished running back one overall in PPR last year. Right now, he's on pace to do that again. I mean, like if he does that back-to-back years, people don't realize how special that is as a fantasy asset. That very rarely happens for running backs. So you don't see a lot of back-to-back running back one overall performances. Now, there's a lot that can happen between now and then. We have Jenner saying Gibbs' playoff schedule is rough. It is, but it isn't, Jenner, because I'm telling you, the Steelers do not stop the run as good as like their stats show sometimes. And I know that's one of the games in the fantasy playoffs. And Minnesota just got run over by Emmanuel Wilson today. And we're going to be talking about Minnesota here in a minute. So I know that was on Bob's topic list that we're going to be talking about. But let me just say, though, Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm with you, Bob. If I am a contender, now I got to be a contender. If that's going to put me over the top, I will gladly do it. Just imagine you have Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs this year. Like, if you could pull that off, like, I mean, it just could absolutely send you to the moon. Like, no one's stopping you, right? As long as there's no one that gets hurt, no one is stopping you. So we had to bring up Jahmyr Gibbs, Bob. You're right. Superhuman, otherworldly effort. Unbelievable. Can't believe, what was it, 15 attempts for them, 200 some yards. That's just insanity.
I
You know,
just
that's
I
unbelievable.
just had it I just had it up too. It was the amount of catches and reset, like 11 catches on 12 targets or whatever. Like, dude, that's like having a wide receiver and a running back that both blow up the same game. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of yards on the receiving, but if you're playing PPR, that's 11 points to start out with. Who cares about the yardage? You know what I mean? And he got a score through the air. I'm like, man, that's otherworldly. It's Jenner. Let me one thing though. Like you're talking about the playoff schedule. The Rams won't matter at all if you get a bye. Get a bye. Go
That's right, man. Yeah, that's
do
right.
what you can to get that bye.
Get that first round bye. I like that call out, Bob. But yes, absolutely otherworldly. The word I like to use is unicorn, right?
Oh,
Unicorn for Jahmyr Gibbs. And very rarely can you put that term on somebody, but he's definitely one of them. Okay, Bob, topic 4. What do we have tonight?
this hurts my heart, but I think I need to take the L here. I'm gonna take a little L, not a big L, because the season's not over with. He's still young, but JJ McCarthy is not helping out the Minnesota Vikings at all. It's bad. It's really bad. And Green Bay's a good team though. So like I feel like I'm throwing darts and yet trying to make excuses. I'm trying to throw the dart and I just kind of keep throwing it to the left instead of actually hitting the dartboard. You know what I'm saying? Like let's give JJ a little bit more time, a little bit more seasoning. He still hasn't had a full year's worth of games under his belt. Um, you know, but I also think that it's sad. It really is sad because if you were remotely counting on Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson at all, like, and maybe TJ Hawkinson's like one of the biggest benefactors to this, right? Because like at the beginning of the year, I was like, go buy Hawkinson because JJ McCarthy's got to throw it to the tight end. Well, the fact that Hawkinson's been hot garbage is probably helping JJ be trash too. So it's like it's a cause and effect type thing, really. And he's just not very accurate deep yet. But like what I've heard, I think Teixeira talked about it the other day, is they're really trying to screw with the kid's mechanics and get him to be um more like, I can't remember what it was. They thought if they could get his mechanics a certain way, he would be more accurate. I'm like, man, he was pretty accurate in college. He just didn't throw the ball a lot. So it's like, maybe they should just quit trying to screw with the square peg and just let him, sling the ball how he's ever used to. And it looks terrible, you know what I mean? And the expectations are high because they went 14-3 last year. And like we talk about, I brought this up on one of the shows, or maybe it was off camera, I don't remember, but like, we talk about how there's a sophomore slump. Well, usually that's the guys that are in the top 3 or top 4 or whatever, um, getting drafted. Well, because they went 14-3 last year, JJ McCarthy is not facing a typical rookie lineup, right? Or schedule. They're facing tough teams. And of course the Bears have stepped up. I gotta kind of start giving them a little bit of props, and they're leading the league, I think, in takeaways, or at one point were, maybe not right now. So it's like, but they lost to him the first game, and then they played them tough the second game. And Green Bay's a good team. Like it's just, it's disheartening for Justin Jefferson owners and Jordan Addison owners, but like they just need time. And Jenner is not wrong here. They should have let him sit a couple years. I don't know about a couple years because, man, at a certain point they got to get on the field. And he lost a year or whatever because of the injury, but he should have probably sat this whole year. They should have probably just signed somebody and gave it one more year. But the injury the first year really hurt him. You know what I mean? It hurt his development, and it is what it is there. But and I see he's mentioning Aaron Rodgers, but we're in a much different society now than when Aaron Rodgers was drafted. I talked about this the other day when I can't remember if it was the deep dive episode. I was like, man, we're a microwave society. If it doesn't happen like this, we're ready to just throw dudes into the trash heap. And
Well, well, I see.
we,
I think you're both right though in a way because like here's the thing, right? Like he said about letting him sit. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay. That's exactly what they did, right? And I mean, yeah, you changed the mechanics, and it took that kind of time to develop into what you wanted him to be. He wasn't pressured to play. Like Green Bay does it the right way. We talk about that, Bob. I mean, they just do. And some people will sit there like even when they made the Jordan Love pick, I remember people scratching their head. I'm like, I like the pick. I like the pick. I mean, I'm like, they know what they're doing. They let him sit behind Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of like the same story. So, look, I mean, I think the tale of this, though, is not just the disappointment of J.J. McCarthy. Now, if you do have him, it is a disappointment. But I agree with what Bob, you're saying, kind of what Jenner was saying there in the chat. Like, if you're going to, do this, they should have re signed Sam Darnold to the 3 years. Just eat the money. It's only a 3-year deal. You're not telling me by year 2 you could have maybe had an easier out on that contract or something, right? Like, I mean, they should have just signed him, had that ready to go. These owners, these teams, they think they know best. And maybe this was a little bit of a Kevin O'Connell mistake, but, there is time yet. Like you said, Bob, that we can't really persecute too much, but it is not good. This is a rookie season, like you said, in my eyes, but it is not good. You have to show something. 2 points today is terrible. Now, the flip side of the coin, if you have Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison, this is terrible, right? Like this is the worst thing ever. But like I could see there being silver lining from both sides of the dynasty aspect here, right? If you have Justin Jefferson as a contender, maybe you could sell him, you know what I mean, and try to get something back in return. If you have to kind of get 3 pieces for one, just make sure you get the right pieces, right? Like you could do that. And if you are a rebuilder, maybe you could acquire a Justin Jefferson, as far as like trading some of them pieces, because if JJ McCarthy doesn't work out, it will get better at some point, right? And then whenever we know Justin Jefferson transforms back into that mode, then you could sell him for a bundle again, So you kind of look at this as far as the bright side of both things. And it's dark on the contender side. But look, sometimes this, Bob. If you have a really, really good team and he's holding you back, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get over the hump, right? I mean, it ain't like he's super young anymore. What is he, 26, 27, something like that? I mean, I hate to say it that way, but, sometimes you have to make that move. So
are you talking about Jefferson or McCarthy?
I'm talking about Jefferson. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about Jefferson.
Jefferson's 26. I was like, McCarthy's younger than that, TJ. But yeah. So ideally, what should have happened, like, and you were talking about, signing Sam Darnold, either you bring in another journeyman, imagine if they'd have signed Daniel Jones, they could have went with Daniel Jones or, for a 1-year deal, or they could have, so let's say you sign Sam Darnold and he has a similar year that year, and you could have let JJ sit on the roster, work through the things or whatever, and then you could trade Sam Darnold for a haul because people will pay through the nose for QBs. We've seen it with Matt Flynn or whatever. And of course, he, got booted right out by Russell Wilson that draft. But whatever the case may be, like there's guys he didn't trade. I don't think they traded for Matt Flynn now that I think about it. They signed him to a mega deal. But whatever, the same point. You could have traded Sam Darnold and gotten, recoup some stuff back. Yeah, I think that, and I'm not saying Jenner's wrong by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think any team's going to do that anymore, unless it's Green Bay. Some teams, like I talked about that the other day with like San Francisco in the last place lineup. I think some teams have some things figured out, right?
Yep.
Like Green Bay is like, look, we're going to draft a guy when we think it's like, if like we're 3 years out, we're gonna draft a guy, we're gonna let him sit behind a guy we think is either a Hall of Famer or can at least hold down the fort. Maybe we'll win a Super Bowl with Jordan Love, blah, blah, blah. And then they're just grooming the guy. They'll let him sit for 3 years. They don't care. They're that type of organization and they'll do it. San Francisco will tank a year to get a last place schedule, so on and so forth. Um, you know, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but like New Orleans, you know, I mean, I don't want to give them too much freaking credit, right? But they just don't draft the team. They don't draft the QB in the first round ever since Archie Manning or whatever. But they sure signed. Uh, I can see the guy's face, Drew Brees. They signed Drew Brees and they won a Super Bowl, and they were super competitive with Drew Brees. You know what I mean? Like,
let
I
me
don't
just
know.
say, let me just say this though, Bob. Like getting back to Justin Jefferson, because look, I have him on a few rosters. I know there's some disappointment. I just think the big thing is, and I think you can agree with me. Now, I'm not saying sell him for any price, right? But like, if the right price is there, I don't want people to feel like they can't part with them. You know what I mean? Because like we talk about it, 26 years old. This, he'll be 27 coming up here soon next year. Like, I mean, it ain't like he's still got 3 to 5 good years of production. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But my thing is like it's gonna end sooner than you think, right? Because 3 years goes by quick. And then two, like, I mean, if you got the right pieces to make this move, do it. Don't be afraid to make it because there are people that are afraid to trade a piece like that. But I mean, look, if they go back with JJ next year, and they almost have to, considering what they invested in him, and it does not work again, you wasted another year, the value dips more, right? Like, so all I'm saying is if the trade's right and the pieces are there, you're making the move, right, Bob? I mean, like, I'm not saying like you have to rip somebody off, right? Like, if there is a fair deal on the table, though, I think I'm making it, and I'm not going to lose a bunch of sleep over that.
Okay, so to just use a parallel, right? I offered a guy this week. It was a 3-for-3 deal, but I was getting a first back on the other side. But I offered Jamar Chase, a Tyrone Tracy, and a linebacker in an IDP league, and I would have got back Travion Henderson, Tet McMillan, and I think it was just the first. It might not have been a 3-for-3, but whatever. But I was getting the first back. The value's absolutely it is. I would be giving the extra because Jamar Chase is a unicorn asset or whatever as far as dynasty football goes. But I would have gotten younger and got so if I'm willing to do that with Chase, I'd be willing to do it with Jefferson. Um, uh, everything is we talk about this ad nauseum. If you ever get anything from me, context is king. We just said it again. I'll hammer it one more time. If I'm competing, I want to do anything I can to win without destroying my dynasty team. But if I'm rebuilding, then I want to do everything I can to get myself into the contending spot. You get my point. Like
Yep.
always try and make a dynasty trade. Don't just sell the farm for a redraft deal. Like, don't be like, okay, I'm trying to win this year. I got Justin Jefferson. He's not doing anything on my team. I'm going to go get Sean Tucker, who's balling right now. And like, I can't think of like, we love Rico Dowdle. I'm going to get Sean Tucker, Rico Dowdle, and, a second because that's all the guy will give me. Dude, you're just pissing money away at that point. Like that's a terrible idea. But if you can get Jahmyr Gibbs, okay, maybe. But like, or you don't go doing it for Ashton Genty because that's not going to win you the league anyway. But like do it for dynasty assets. And I tend to not part with wide receivers unless I'm getting a wide receiver or draft capital back just because that's how I roll. But like
I
that
got one
type of
for you.
thing.
I got one for you before we move on real quick. You're a rebuilder. You have Justin Jefferson. Would you take Tet McMillan in a 27 first and sell Justin Jefferson in a 26 second?
Probably, yeah, because the 26 second doesn't mean anything to me. Basically, I'm Jefferson for a Tet in the first. That it might be a little light in my mind. Um, maybe even if I'm given the 26 second, I want some throw in RB, even if it's like a Sean Tucker type, or you know, or
Now,
maybe something like that.
so you want maybe another throw in piece. Now, let me just ask you though. I said if you were a rebuilder. Now, if you were a contender, would you make that swap at this point with Justin Jefferson? Would you take Tet the 27 first? Do you think you could trust it more?
I think so. Yeah.
I
I mean,
think so
like,
too.
even if Tet only gives me, let's say, 12 points on average the rest of the year, that's probably better than we're getting with Jefferson right now, and that sucks. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think so too, Bob. So I'm glad that you're on the same page with me. Look, you're getting what, 5 years, 4 years younger with Tet McMillan than Justin Jefferson. You're getting that 27 first. You could trade that for another piece, or you could go in that class. And there's a lot of good lottery tickets to play in that class. So I mean, I'm just saying, I think that so many people want 3 or 4 firsts for Justin Jefferson. Right now, given where we're at, that just isn't going to happen. Right? Like, you got to be realistic. And sometimes you got to pull the Band-Aid off. Maybe next year Justin Jefferson's wide receiver 2 again. That sucks. But if this has a chance for me to win now and get me the championship this year and maybe even contend more down the road, because let's be honest, you're getting Tet McMillan, who ain't going to be dust. You're going to have a good receiver there, plus a 2027 first. So like you said, you're not damaging your dynasty chances that bad, and you're getting better right now in the short term. You accomplish the goal that you're looking for, and that is a good, smart, sound trade to me. Okay, Bob, the last one on the list. What is it tonight?
Why are the Bills trash? Like,
I can't believe you're talking about Buffalo like this. But go ahead. Let's hear about it.
I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, what's they're beginning to be this Bo Nix yo-yo that I don't like. Like, I expect more from Josh Allen, and he's the only guy I can trust. James Cook a little bit, but like, if this team is up and down like ain't nobody's business, I don't understand it. And obviously Keon Coleman's not it. Like, I don't know. They said that he missed like team meetings or something like that. Man, like, you just became a professional athlete. I can show up on this microphone every Sunday at 6:30. Why can't you show up to play football and make millions of dollars? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's your job. I go to work every day and sling trash for a living, man. And it's like, I'm not getting paid that kind of dough. And these guys can't do their job. I don't understand that at all. Dalton Kincaid being hurt, it sucks balls. Knox is obviously not like the pass catcher. Halls really isn't either. They like to run the offense through the tight end apparently, but like, they didn't show that the first 2 or 3 years or whatever, Kincaid. But now it's like they did, and now they can't figure out how to play football without him. And like, Khalil Shakir is a nice little piece. He's a nice little piece, but he's a little piece. He cannot be the focal point of the offense. And it's like, if you shut down James Cook, you shut down this whole team. I don't know. And it's like, their offensive line should be better than this. Their defense should be better than this. And it's like, they're getting beat by terrible teams. But it's like, I think I seen the meme the other day that was like, it showed the 3 teams that where's it at? Like, where are they at? Buffalo. I'm losing my brain. The three quarterbacks that Buffalo has beat this year, right? They beat Lamar Jackson. They beat they beat Mahomes, and they beat Mayfield, but yet they lost to Tua. They lost to Drake May, that's probably a fair, whatever. That's okay. I don't mind that so much. But they lost to Penix, and they lost to Davis Mills. Like, what? Like, and I mean, the Texans defense is stellar. I'll give them that. But like, what the hell?
Right. And Buffalo should be in that category above them, no doubt about it. And like you said with Keon Coleman, what a disappointment, right? Like, I just was never high on the guy. I mean, like, I admit my mistakes, but that's one for sure I just never liked. And like, obviously this was more of, like you said, just not being a good pro. Like, what are you doing? I mean, you gotta get yourself in there. I mean, these guys all have talent, but this is what defeats over 50% of them, right? It's just whenever they show this non-caring, lackadaisical attitude. But Bob, if you have him right now, I mean, this is a nightmare, right? You probably spent second round rookie capital on him last year. Like, where is the bar? I mean, like, what would you take for him at this point? Would you take just a random third? Like, are you that low? Would you just hold and wait, see what happens? Like, where are you at on Keon Coleman? Because it is really that bad.
I am absolutely what I have of Keon Coleman. I'm not going to get enough to do anything with him, so I might as well just hold on to it. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I just got a bottom basement spot for it.
Would you take Jonathan Brooks in a 1-for-1?
No, I can't. Number one, running back. Number two, no knees. Number three, I don't think that he beats out Chuba Hubbard when he comes back.
Right.
So
Right. Okay.
yeah, no. There's better bad running backs I would rather have.
So let me just say this. I do think that I would take a random 27 third for Keon Coleman. Like, I will cut my losses because look, like, it's not even just the fact that he got in this kind of trouble. It's like, I'm like you. I'm just tired of this Bills offense. And like, we really do like Khalil Shakir, but like Ty always says about these flex guys, can you trust them when it's all on the line though? Like, you just can't. You can't trust Buffalo to spread the ball around enough to get it to enough pieces. So, like, I just don't think Keon Coleman's going to be it. And we've seen Dalton Kincaid, who was a first-round draft pick. Keon Coleman was either late first, early second. I can't remember if they traded back up in or not. But, like, they spend capital on these guys, and it still doesn't matter. Like you said, and that is very true. Like, if they cannot establish James Cook, like, and then they're really in trouble. Like, they just cannot. It seems like ever since Stephon Diggs left, this offense has just really turned for the worst each and every year. It just slowly, it's like going down the ladder, right? Like, it just looks more sloppy. They just don't know what they want to do. Like, I seen Josh Allen like screaming, like, what the hell are we doing? Throwing his helmet. Like, he don't even know what they're doing. So it's like, what a nightmare in general. But like, and I don't know how you feel, Bob, and I don't mind. Like, let me just preface this. Like, if someone wants to hold Keon Coleman, like, whatever, right? It's just like, I think right now, 27 is a good class. I'll play that lottery ticket. Can I package that into another trade to get another player? Because look, it's just not about getting that third. It could be an asset you can use, right? But you got to be smart about what you're doing. So I don't know. I'll let you have the closing thoughts on something like that on a 27 third. I don't know how far gone you are on Keon Coleman in this whole mess.
Well, two things, and to just to give a little validity to Ty's point about Khalil Shakir, he's got just as many top 15 games as he's got 100 plus wide receiver ranked games. That may be because of injury or whatever, but he's got 2 games where he was 103 and 105, and he's got 2 games where he was 6 and 15. So he's and even this last game with 110 yards and 8 catches, he was only wide receiver 19. That just must have been a good wide receiver week, but whatever. So what I would prefer to do, and it's just because, like, when you start thinking about thirds, right? My catchphrase with my boy, if he was here, he'd tell you, I'll never let a third stop me from making a deal. Like, if you want a third, I'll throw a third in. Who cares? Blah blah blah. So it's not enough for me, but I would be willing to say Keon Coleman, 26 second, give me a 27 second.
Right.
And then people are like, oh, okay, well, like, you're just throwing Coleman in for second. Yes, but I believe in one class, I don't believe in the other. So, like, that type of deal. I would rather Coleman be like the sprinkle of sugar on the top of my cookie. You know what I'm saying? To get a better deal, something like that. Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't want a 27. 27 third's great if you're in an IDP league, but when we're in offensive only leagues and you're talking about one of the, somewhere between 25 and 36, it might be it could have been Jarquez Hunter, but we ain't seen crap from Jarquez Hunter this year, TJ. I'm disappointed. Like, there's players that we were high on in this class that it's like, we ain't seen squat from them yet. Jordan James, Jarquez Hunter. Like, there were all kinds of good dart throw guys. And, even if you were getting Braden Smith, like, are you excited is it Braden Smith?
Sure.
Brashard Smith. Yeah, Brashard Smith. Are you, like, excited about that, even having that pick? Like, so, like, yeah, I would rather try and do some voodoo magic and get a second.
Yeah, and I like what you said there. Like, I mean, it does make sense. And a lot of people look at that trade and say, oh, it's lopsided. No, it isn't. Like, you prefer the 27 second, right? And maybe you could even do Keon Coleman in a third and a fourth and get a 27 second, right? Like, you could try that as well. Like, whatever it takes. But, if it's that bad, nobody wants him and you can't make a move, I would just wait. Hopefully he has like a wide receiver 2 week. And there are going to be people out there be like, oh, okay, I want parts of this Bills offense. I'm ready.
He's Josh Allen's number 1 target.
Yeah, I'm ready to ship him off. I'm not falling for that again. I know. I mean, let me just say this. I'm not falling for what I've never fallen for when it comes to Keon Coleman. So let's get him out of here. So Great episode, Bob. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you. And a lot of good Dynasty talk today when it comes to some of these assets, players, and teams. We appreciate it. As Bob said at the beginning of the show, guys, this is the last culture shock before Thanksgiving. Enjoy family, enjoy football. Be thankful for what you have, because there are some people out there that don't have. And if you do have, be thankful for it. Like Bob said, I'm thankful for the DNA Strand crew, thankful for all my friends and family, everything we mentioned at the beginning of the show. I mean, you got to be thankful. And man, oh man, we've been really lucky, and we appreciate you guys, and we're thankful for you. And let me just say, if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, any of the big podcasting platforms, and you haven't yet, please follow and 5-star the show. If you want to subscribe to Dynasty DNA on YouTube, come over. You can watch the Culture Shock live here on YouTube. We'd love to have you. Subscribe. We're getting close to 300 subscribers. We appreciate everybody. A lot of great engagement and chat with the fans. We love that. Also, follow us on Twitter at DynastyDNA_. I know I speak for Bob and everyone here at the DNA Network when I say we hope you guys have a great, great rest of your week ahead of you. Enjoy yourself. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you all on the next episode of The Culture Shock. You too, Jenner. Thanks. Have a great holiday. Yeah. I just seen that come in at the end, but I wanted to get it into him. He's a good